Media's Mining Weekly is interviewing Kevin Eggers, the co-founding partner of AP Ventures, an independent venture capital fund which is focused on investing in early-stage companies that use or enable the use of platinum group metals. Kevin, Mining Weekly would like to kick off this interview with this question. What progress has AP Ventures made in South Africa with its water treatment business?
Well, you've kicked off with a question that's really close to my heart, both in terms of how proud I am of what we've developed in South Africa. It's a business called Marty Tech, Marty being water, so water technology, effectively. And I'll tell you a little bit about what it's doing, but perhaps just provide you with a bit of history first. So Marty Tech is actually leveraging the technology of one of our existing Danish portfolio companies, which has developed the technology to synthesize hydrogen peroxide in a continuous form and low concentration, which enables you to use it in water treatment applications in very varied fields from agriculture. But the one I'm most excited about in the South African context is actually for drinking water. And this is removing waterborne pathogens to enable safe drinking water for communities, schools, and the like. So what we did is we incubated a business about 3 years ago. We had to find a team to lead that, including various board members and a CEO, which we've done. And the company's made great strides. Their most significant installation is actually a project on an operational mine site in South Africa, where they are treating the water and have installed the hydrogen peroxide technology, along with significant peripheral equipment, which actually now enables the safe water. This has been independently validated in the market by an external group. So we know that the water is continuously being safe, and we're now providing that water to the community. So very exciting development. I hope to see many more of those opportunities. But the application set, as I described, is actually quite broad. So we're in early conversations with vineyards looking to treat their water. We have, through the Danish company, a trial already in Napa Valley. So we're sort of leveraging that to try and find local applications in the Western Cape. And we have a series of commercial sales in the agricultural space across the country, in George and the Northwest. So quite exciting developments. I think it's going to have a profound impact for years to come in South Africa, in the context specifically of water.
That sounds wonderful, Kevin. And what are AP Ventures' other investments in South Africa?
So in South Africa, we've effectively got two portfolio companies as we think of them. One is Marty Tech, which I've just described, which is focused on the use principally of hydrogen peroxide for treating water. And the other one is called African Hydrogen Ventures, which is set up to develop hydrogen-related projects with partners in South Africa. And that's effectively leveraging our existing portfolio companies, so some of the technology we've invested in globally across the United States and Europe, and seeking applications in the South African context. So to that end, we're looking at some of the larger scale projects, some of which will be well known to your readers and listeners. But in addition, looking to develop our own projects in dual fuel applications. So this is sort of hydrogen and internal combustion for mobility applications, as well as looking at electrolyzer assembly and a wide variety of other initiatives. So smaller scale as well as some larger scale projects, Martin, but quite an interesting array of opportunities in front of it. And with the key premise that we can leverage existing technology and know-how from the other 26 portfolio companies that we have invested in.
And are South African entrepreneurs coming forward with sound business propositions?
Yeah, I think no one will question the South African entrepreneurial zeal and spirit, Martin. I think that's clear. I would say in the context of deep tech, where we invest, it's a little bit less than perhaps we would have initially thought. But when you do think about it more deeply, you recognize that lots of the scientific invention and development across the deep tech landscape takes place principally in advanced developed economies with significant government budgets available for the development of that technology. So we see a lot more opportunities, relatively speaking, in countries like the United States, Northern Europe, where they have a long history in some of those research institutes of developing that technology. And then also furthermore, deeper capital markets, I would say, both in terms of traditional sources of capital, but also the entrepreneurial and venture capital ecosystems are a little bit more developed. So I think, like for like, in terms of the areas we're investing, we see more opportunities globally, which I think you can see in the context of where we've deployed the majority of our capital, which at the moment is about 40% into the United States, 40% into Europe, and then 20% other, which includes Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. And that really reflects sort of where we see most of the innovation coming forward. However, we've purposefully incubated two entities, as I described, MartiTech and African Hydrogen Ventures, which we're using as our tool to develop new projects and opportunities in South Africa. We want to do so with partners. So we're seeking co-investors effectively into both those entities. And we want to have a meaningful impact on the development of the hydrogen economy in South Africa. It matters to our South African LPs. So just as a reminder, we are very grateful for the support that we've received from Anglo American, Impala, Platinum, and the Public Investment Corporation, three very supportive LPs who share the strategic ambition of ours to develop hydrogen projects and opportunities globally in terms of the meaningful impact that should have and will have on platinum group metals, but also domestically in terms of the opportunity within South Africa. South Africa's got abundant renewable energy resources, both wind and solar. The production of green hydrogen relies on that as effectively as starting electrons to come from those renewable sources. So that provides us a really interesting sort of starting framework. And then we've got expertise in South Africa. So we do continue to think that from our mining and extractive industries, companies like Sasol, et cetera, there's lots of existing infrastructure and expertise to leverage. So we still feel positive about South Africa, and we're seeking to do most of that investment through those two entities I've described. We've spoken about hydrogen, and we remain very excited by the sector. It's an existing market today. There's a tremendous amount of grey hydrogen that is produced on the market, and we ultimately, at a minimum, need to decarbonize that hydrogen production. Today, that's used in oil refineries and some other emerging applications. In the future, it's going to be used in aviation fuels and steel production and transportation and other verticals. But based on what I see today, we have a very robust pipeline. We continue to see a lot of interesting technologies, and I think a lot of countries remain committed to their original hydrogen strategies and agendas. That said, we can't hide away from the fact that the last year has been a little bit more challenging for the transition. Interest rates have been higher. There's general concern around politics and the state of play. There's multiple wars in the Middle East and in Europe. And I think all that's provided a little sense of caution. So if I look back to, say, 2 or 3 years ago, we're certainly in a slightly more cautious perspective. That's not a bad thing. I think we want to see sensible investments made. We want to scale the most interesting and relevant technology. We don't want to see the wrong technologies get funded. So I think to the extent that that's causing people to be a bit more thoughtful and mindful about what gets funded, I'm all for that. But I guess, one of the takeaways I want to leave you with is that we still see hydrogen as playing effectively an irreplaceable role in decarbonizing the hardest-to-abate sectors.
That was Crew Media's Mining Weekly, interviewing Kevin Eggers, the co-founding partner of AP Ventures, an independent venture capital fund focused on investing in early-stage companies that use or enable the use of platinum group metals.